So a few days have passed since I did the podcast with Mr. Boss for the win, and I thought it would be time to give some more insight on that, and very specifically on how it was before doing the podcast and after doing the podcast. Because a lot of you people feel like he was not truthful on the podcast itself. So I feel like if I speak openly about the things we discussed before and after, it would portray a better picture of how this person actually is. So let's dive right into that, shall we now? So after I invited him for a quick chat, I didn't really mention the podcast whatsoever. We went on Discord. I called him up. I was like, yo dude, how you doing? He was like, yo dude, I'm doing fine. And then we started talking about YouTube, about casual things, about life in general. And yeah, really about YouTube a whole lot, because I'm interested in how it is being a full-time YouTuber. I've got a few friends who are full-time YouTubers, and it's always so much fun to hear different perspectives of doing something as YouTube for a living, right? Like, I don't know, it's really just interesting. Like, it's something so ridiculous. Like, could you imagine waking up in the early morning and then be like, yo, I'm gonna make some fucking videos tonight and make some fat bank? You know, some people make fat stacks, some others don't, but still, it's something you do for a living. It's how you get the bread on the table, and it's really interesting stuff. So that's one of those things we discussed. And then the conversation eased into the more controversial topics, like the toxicity towards him and other Grand Theft Auto 5 online YouTubers, you know, those guys like Not and Lispy. And we just openly talked about it off record. I'm not the kind of person who would record every bit of conversation I have with someone, because some things are just meant to be private. Although, in a way, I wish I did, because that conversation would have probably given you way more insight on how he actually is. Although, I'm not gonna lie, I was a little bit biased, of course, because I didn't know what to expect, you know? He's a big guy. There's a lot of hatred around him. There's a lot of controversial things that happened around him. Like, there's a lot of videos on him. Like, what's gonna happen? What's gonna go down? Is he gonna be truthful at all? Like, I had the same question. Is this person just using me as a sort of less of a platform to come clean on certain matters? You know, like, I have a pretty good standing in the community, in the GTA Online community, for the content I did. I did honest content. So, yeah, you know, I was a little bit worried about that. However, the more and more I spoke to him, the more and more I felt like that was not the case. He's just an all-around good person. He's a good individual, and that's the entire vibe I got throughout our conversation before we went live. Like, really, I'm sincerely honest, I was a little bit scared about him using me as a platform to defend his ass on certain matters. But I did not even mention the podcast at all in our conversation. So after that, after a little while, I was like, yo, how would you feel like doing a podcast with me? You know, how would you feel like doing a podcast with me and openly discuss some of the issues and address the issues that people have with you? And his first response was like, ooh, you know, I'm not really interested in that. Like, normally I keep that controversial stuff to the side and just let the hatred flow right by me and try not to get involved in those sort of matters, which is fair enough. So I basically said, yo, just sleep on it. You know, this might be a nice opportunity for you to come in touch with the community that dislikes your content. It will be a nice way to do that. Still keeping in the back of my head, like, yo, what if this guy is going to use me to, you know, for that sort of freaking, to get a foothold on that ground. But he was like, no, at first he was like, no, I don't want to do this. I was like, yo, sleep on it for a day. So it happened. He slept on it for a day, and in the morning he hit me up in the DMs. He was like, yo, dude, yeah, you know what? Let's fucking YOLO. I'm going to do this thing anyway. But, here came the but, I want a list of things and topics we will be discussing so I can prepare myself a little bit. That is, in my opinion, totally fair, because I know there's a lot of people out for blood on him, right? If Raggedy Dan, for instance, would reach out to him and do the same podcast, that entire thing would have flown way differently, and Mr. Boss would have probably not even get involved. So I knew it was kind of like I was tiptoeing on glass a little bit, like, you know, you gotta pick the right things, the right questions, and the right topics. And of all questions, there was one specific one that was where I was like, whoa, yo, this one's a little bit on the edge. I don't know how he's gonna react to it, and I don't know if it like messes up our entire future conversations. And that was the entire doxing situation that happened a long time ago. So I presented him the list. I did not put the doxing thing on there. I called him up. I was like, yo, what do you think? He was like, yeah, dude, like, yeah, these are all fair questions. These are all fair topics. And I was like, okay, cool. So how would you feel about talking about the doxing thing? And he was like, ooh, well, you know, don't want to really go into that all that much. And the thing is, the way I'm saying it right now, like I'm saying it in a playful way, but what essentially it boiled down to, he was really direct. He was like, no, I don't want to talk about it. You know, that's off limits. I don't want to talk about it. That's it. At that point, I was like, whoa, wait, hold up, dude. Like, I'm giving you an opportunity to come clean on certain things, maybe even explain why you did it. Maybe people will understand you better for why you did it, and maybe you get an opportunity to even apologize for what you did. That was my initial mindset. I was like, whoa, why don't you want to take this opportunity and do this anyway? So I didn't want to pressure him into doing that thing. I don't want to pressure him into talking about it, because I knew if I did that, if I was like, yo, come on, really think you should do this. Come on, you do it. Come on, do this. It set the tone for our future conversations, and it would set the tone for the entire podcast as well, and it would close him off to potential other questions. Because the list I presented to him, I said, yo, this is not the full list. Like, I got a few questions that are semi-controversial, and I want to discuss these things with you as well. But I want to keep this a nice and open and flowing conversation. So I'm not going to, like, show you everything, because I want to hear, like, your true opinion without you being able to prepare on certain things. And he was totally fair with it. He was, like, totally okay. He was like, yo, dude, yeah, fair enough. Like, it makes sense, so fair enough, yeah. But still, like, that entire doxing thing, that was like, it was in the back of my head. I was like, well, why does he want to talk about it? But I let it slide. I didn't go into too much detail. I just let it slide by. The day came, we did the podcast. And the thing is, the conversation we had on that podcast was very similar to the conversation we had before we did the podcast, before he even knew there was a podcast. It was the same person I was speaking to. It was not, like I said, back in the day, he did not know he'd have a platform to potentially protect himself on, to defend himself on, to explain certain things, and to twist and turn things into certain ways to look better. He didn't have that. He didn't know that. Then when the moment came, he was like the same person I spoke to before I said we did a podcast. So in that regard, I don't believe he was untruthful. Although going into hearing these sort of things right then at that moment in time, it would make you feel like he is lying constantly, because it's easy to think that because there's so much shit around him, right? It makes sense in a way. But like, all I can say about this, I can assure you that it's not the case. He's really a stand-up guy. He is a businessman though. He knows what he is doing on YouTube with certain things. He knows how to make money, and he needs to make money because that is how he pays for his fucking bread that he puts on the table. You know, I would do the same thing. And there's a lot of arguments floating around in the comment section, like, yo, dude, those 10-minute plus videos, like where he goes barely over the 10 minutes. I don't trust this shit. He only does it for the money. Even if it is the case, right? Let's take a small step back. And you are a major YouTuber, and you make a video, and that's on 9 minutes and 58 seconds. Nothing would stop me, and I would do it as well, to add 3 little seconds of whatever on either side at the beginning or at the end to make it go over the 10-minute mark, so I could earn 3 times the money. It's that easy. It's just 3 seconds, and you gotta make money. That's how, you would be a thief of your own fucking pocket if you didn't do it. Now the entire story changes, right? The entire story changes if you look at content like, for instance, Lispy Jimmy, where every video he puts out, he goes barely goes over that 10-minute mark. There's like certain cases where it's just a second, where it's 2 seconds, where it's 4 seconds, where it's just ridiculous. That's something that's a no-go. Then that shows that you're clearly in it for the money. But in Boss's case, he explained that he feels like he needs the time to dive into certain topics. Now, enough on that, because there's a whole story that happened after the podcast, of course. Because we did the podcast. Now, I started editing it together. I got the thumbnail, whatnot, and at that moment he went live. So he started streaming. I was uploading the podcast. It went live, and of course, it got a lot of negative. It got a lot of dislikes right away. I was like, "Yo, dude, come on, dudes! Like 20 dislikes in the first 5 minutes that it's up. Really, dudes." You're not even hearing the guy out. You see Mr. Boss for the win, and you're fucking done with him. And you're fucking done with my video. You know, it's just ridiculous. I don't care though. Like, I don't care if people dislike on my channel. I don't give a rat's ass. Like, a lot of people are educated enough to listen, to hear him out, and then formulate an opinion and leave a like or a dislike. And I appreciate those guys, and whoever just instantly drops a dislike because they see Mr. Boss for the win, it can go fuck right off. You need to hear the guy out and then formulate an opinion. And try to do that unbiased, you know? But the thing is, the moment he went live, I uploaded the thing, shit went down, and the moment he went offline of his stream, probably the first thing he did was message me, "Yo, dude, how's the video doing? Yo, do your friends enjoy it?" You know, that sort of stuff. He was showing interest in how the video was doing and how people enjoyed the other side of Mr. Boss for the win, which is totally fair, of course, because it's the first time he did something like this, and he really wanted to know what the community that dislikes him thinks about that. So we chatted a little bit about that, and I was like, "Yo, thank you so much, dude. Like sincerely, thank you for coming on. Like, it was an honor. It was awesome having you on, and it was just great chatting to you." And he was like, "Yo, no, thank you, dude. Like you." What he said to me was like, "You are the first person who reached out to me in this way. You're the first person who just openly wants to talk about things without taking a massive dump on my fucking chest." You know? And I was like, "Yo, fair enough. I'm a little bit done with this shit anyway, so it was good meeting you," and we went our own separate ways. A few days later, we kept on talking to each other like on casual things, like we're both massive fans of PlayerUnknown's, so we meshed a little bit back and forth about that. And at some point I was like, "Yo, dude, tell me, why the hell didn't you want to talk about the doxing situation?" It just came up in a conversation, and then he explained to me something that I wish I could talk to you guys about, but I can't. I promised him not to, and even if I didn't make if I didn't make that promise, I would probably not talk about it anyway. I would never make a video on it, on what happened, because let's just say he paid his debts, and he was held accountable for the things he did. A lot of fucked up things happened around Ross regarding the doxing thing, and the whole reason why he doesn't go into detail on that anymore is because he doesn't want to let that happen all over again. Let's say it was really fucking messed up. I've seen some things that was like, "Yo, dude, what the fuck is this shit?" People are really fucking creepy at sometimes. Either way, I know I'm fucking very cryptic, and I hope you can like take my word on it, but there is good reason why he doesn't want to speak about it anymore. Alright? Either way, I've been rambling on for long enough now. Like, I feel like I got a lot of things off my chest as well. Just to summarize this entire situation, he's a good guy, for starters. He's an amazing guy. Like, none of us can deny that when you listen to the podcast and you was like, "Yo, this dude sounds like a total fucking cunt." None of us thought that. He sounds like a really nice person, and he is, both off record and on record. You know, so that's the main thing. He's also a businessman. That's really the vibe I got from him. He knows what he's doing, and which is fair enough. Like, if you want to become a big YouTuber, you got to know what the fuck you're doing. You can't just dick around like I'm doing right now, because else you won't get anywhere. And certain things I agree on, certain things I disagree on with him. In the end, his content is not really my cup of tea. Like, I don't care too much for GTA news in general, so I normally don't watch it. What I do watch, I'll be completely honest, is his live streams from time to time when new content comes out, because I like how in depth he goes into that sort of things. Like, he takes his sweet time with every little aspect of the DLC, and I kind of enjoy that. So I like watching that shit live. But that's basically it. Like, I don't watch his content myself, except for the live streams, which is totally fair, to each their own, right? Either way, that was basically it, you know, and I hope this gave you some more insight on how it was talking to him and on what kind of person he actually is. All right, I'll see you guys on the next podcast. I've got some pretty awesome guests lined up, and I gotta actually go record that right now. Peace out, guys.